Well, good morning to you on this sunny-ish Friday morning and welcome to Penn Vicarage. Lovely to see you. So glad you could join us for our Bible talk this morning. As it's Friday, as I always do, as become customary, may I remind you we are open for business in church and we would love to see you. And we have a raft of services this weekend and you'd be very, very welcome in church. If you'd rather prefer to join us online, the 10 o'clock service from St Bart's is live streamed and there's a service from St Anne's 11:45 Sunday morning too. But either way, whether online or physically, we would love to see you in church and you'd be very, very welcome. The arms of the church, as the arms of God, are open to you. We are working our way through the challenging but incredible book of letter of Paul to the Romans. And we're in chapter 3. I'm going to start reading at verse 21. So it's Romans 3:21 to the end of the chapter. But now, apart from law, the righteousness of God has been disclosed and is attested by the law and the prophets, the righteousness of God through faith in Jesus Christ for all who believe. For there is no distinction, since all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. They are now justified by his grace as a gift through the redemption that is in Christ Jesus, whom God put forward as a sacrifice of atonement by his blood, effective through faith. He did this to show his righteousness, because in his divine forbearance he'd passed over the sins previously committed. It was to prove at the present time that he himself is righteous and that he justifies the one who has faith in Jesus. Then what becomes of boasting? It's excluded. By what law? By that of works? No, but by the law of faith. For we hold that a person is justified by faith apart from works prescribed by the law. Or is God the God of the Jews only? Is he not only God of the Gentiles also? Yes, of the Gentiles also, since God is one. And he will justify the circumcised on the ground of faith, and the uncircumcised through that same faith. Do we then overthrow the law by this faith? By no means. On the contrary, we uphold the law. And this is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Well, there's a complex passage. Fight your way out for that one, Vicar. Here, something like this, I think. If you hear preachers these days talking and trying to persuade people to become Christians, trying to persuade people about God and finding Jesus in their life and so on, generally speaking, what they'll focus on is the love of God. And in a sense, quite rightly, I do the same thing too. You want to preach about what people become Christians, what you focus on is the love of God. So, if you want to find somebody in your life who is truly loving, then God is the person to look for. If you want to find true love in your life, if you want to become truly loving and so on, then Jesus is the place to find that true love and love in your life. And we tend to focus on where you can find love in God and how you can find someone that's truly loving, which is God in Jesus. So we tend to focus on, and that's quite right, on the love of Jesus and the love of God. Paul, in this passage this morning, focuses on something completely different. He focuses on the righteousness of God. The word righteousness comes up 4 times in this reading, or more even. He focuses on the righteousness of God. Now, it seems a bit strange because I don't know many people who lie in bed wondering, but I do know people who lie in bed wondering, where can I find true love in my life? I don't know many people who lie in bed wondering, how can I find true righteousness in my life? I know lots of people who worry and so on and really seek after trying to find someone that's truly loving. I don't know how many people seek after someone that's truly righteous. Or do they, actually? Because we tend to focus the word righteousness. We tend to think of people who are all bit sort of holier than thou and righteous, Whereas actually righteousness comes from the Greek word dike. And dike is all about being proper, about being just, having justice, about things being done correctly. And true righteousness is about having things being truly done correctly. It's about finding true justice. It's about finding things being done correctly and right and truthfully and that sort of stuff. And actually, it is something which is very important too. It might help you to think of it it's almost like a double negative. We hate injustice. We hate it when things aren't done correctly. We hate things when things are false and things are lies, things are incorrect. We find that appalls us, that appeals against, have a strong sense of injustice. So actually, justice is important, truth is important. So righteousness is actually something very, very important this morning. And what Paul is saying here is true righteousness here is found in God. And that's what he focuses on here. Not just the fact that God is righteous, but also how we can find righteousness in our lives too. And he says a lot about it in these few verses here in Romans chapter 3. So what does he say about righteousness? Firstly, he says you can find it in the Bible. Through what God has through the law of God and the prophets of God, through the Old Testament, and especially when they look forward to the coming of Jesus, you hear God's righteousness proclaimed in the Bible. So when they're talking about the prophets, when the law, when the Bible talks about God, they're talking about true justice. And you can find God's righteousness in the pages of the Bible. That's the first thing. Second thing he said, these incredible words, which are very well known, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. In other words, we are all, whether we are Jewish or Gentiles, whatever our background, we are all in the same boat. We've all fallen short. We all are unrighteous. We've all missed the mark. We've all not achieved true righteousness in our lives. We've all missed the mark, so to speak, for all have sinned and fallen short of God. Whoever we may be, however rich or poor, whatever colour we may be, whatever, we're all in the same boat. We've all fallen short. We all need extra righteousness of God because none of us has got it, because all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. So far we've got God's righteousness is mentioned in the Bible. Secondly, we're all in the same boat. We've all fallen short of God's righteousness. Thirdly, righteousness is a gift. It's something which not something we earn. It's something which is a gift. It's something which is given to us. It's a gift of God, right? So that's the third thing. The fourth thing, how do we receive that gift of God? We get it by faith. We get it by believing, by receiving it in trust, by believing it in through faith. We get it by receiving it through faith, through trusting God, by faith and faith alone. That's how we get it. Fourthly. Fifthly, it comes through Jesus, God's incredible sacrifice, God's gift, God's Son. It's received through Jesus. Jesus is the way we receive God's incredible gift. It comes through Jesus. And God sent Jesus, God's great gift to us. So Jesus is the key. And finally, the other incredible thing about this is it demonstrates not just how we can achieve God's righteousness, but also God shows his righteousness by not overlooking our sin, by not putting our unrighteousness and putting it under the carpet, pretending it's not there, by dealing with it, by sending Jesus, by giving his gift. It demonstrates that he doesn't overlook unrighteousness, but he deals with it and sorts it, and in doing so shows his justice. You know, justice delayed is justice denied, as they say, and denied justice is bad. And actually, what Paul is saying here is that by dealing with it, by not covering it under the carpet, by not pretending it's not there and ignoring it, God demonstrates that he's a God of righteousness and a God of justice too. So Paul's focus this morning, what about righteousness? What about justice? What about truth and so on? What about decay? Basically, that's what he's talking about this morning. And he says 6 things briefly. First, he says it's spoken of in the scriptures. When you hear about God, you're talking about the description of true justice. Secondly, we are all in the same boat. Whoever we have all missed the mark. We're all sinners. As I said to someone the other day, you mean you discovered that you're a sinner? We're all in the same boat, whoever we may be. Thirdly, God's righteousness is a gift to us, not something we can earn by being good boys and girls. It's something which is a gift. It's pure gift to us. Fourthly, that gift, we receive it by faith, by trusting in God, by trusting in Jesus. That's how we receive it. We receive it by faith. Fifthly, it comes through Jesus, God's Son, God's great gift, God's mighty act, the greatest thing that's ever happened in the history of the world. It comes through Jesus. And finally, because he deals with unrighteousness, because he deals with injustice, because there's no messing with God, because God does not brush things under the carpet, pretend they're not there, God demonstrates that by not ignoring injustice, he shows that he is a God of truth. He is a God of justice. He's a God of true righteousness. So what Paul is saying in the reading, well, many preachers, as me would today, focus on the amazing how to receive the love of God. Paul tells us how to receive the righteousness of God and how God is true justice, true righteousness, truth, and fantastic. God bless you. I'll see you, if not over the